All right, welcome back. Welcome back. Episode 3. Episode 3 in the house. Happy Sunday. Wherever you are, good morning, good evening, good afternoon, some parts of the world. Happy post bash in Berlin. Damn. First thought off the bat, some mid, yo.
Yeah,
Oh
it was.
man. Oh man. Um yeah, man. I liked it. I liked it overall. Just to get straight into it, I really liked it overall. I will say that I'm leaning towards what Dwayne has been saying this whole time. Cody Rhodes submit, man. Cody Rhodes is submit, bro.
Welcome to the
Um,
team.
yeah, I know we just said, I know we just spoke on that before. Like, I'm glad that was the first match. That had to be the first match. Everything that preceded that was pretty damn cool. Um, just off the bat overall, I'd say like 5, 6 out of 10 rating. Like I wasn't too fond of it. Yeah, that Cody Rhodes match. I mean, we knew what was gonna happen. I can kind of see them playing with that story a little bit. I get like they teasing the Kevin Owens heel turn. They trying to make us feel that. I ain't really sold because I'm like Dwayne said the other episode is like everything that has been centered around Cody Rhodes ends up being bigger than him, right? Like we don't really, like we don't look at him. We look at the totality of the story. We're looking at everybody else that's around him, and even in this sense, right? Like we're looking at Kevin Owens more than him. We're like, yo, is Kevin Owens about to turn? What he about to like? We looking at that part. Cody Rhodes just champion. He just did. Like he just defended the title, and and I get how, in this sense, it's like it's big shoes to fill, right? Like you're coming off a Roman Reigns win. How do you even fill those shoes? Like you can't. You honestly can't. There really is no, there really is no surpassing or even coming close to the reign that he had. But it's just I don't know. Something got to change. I don't know exactly what that is. Maybe one of y'all can eventually chime in on that. But I just wanted to kind of express we team mid. We team Cody Rhodes is mid. But overall, I think the pay per view was alright. Like it's cool. But if it just genuinely felt like it was something to just see, it was something to watch. And that's kind of the overall feeling I've been getting with how a lot of these PLEs are going. That's overseas. It's like you get cool matches, you get nice bookings, but like it starts and ends right there, right? Like that's all we see. There's no real story tied to it. They might sell you on the story for like 2-3 weeks, but everything we seen last night is pretty much the final match of that, right? Like we may end up seeing some more Judgment Day, like Rhea Ripley stuff, but as for everything else, we got Jade and Bianca winning. That one was a little crazy. I like it, but I'm also like questioning like what are they doing with that tag team division? Because if they're gonna win the titles now again, why did they even lose the titles before, right? Like why did we, like what was the purpose of that? Just lose just to give them back the titles a couple weeks later. So that one was a little weird for me. But this Bianca and Jay, how can you say no? Like, what else? Drew versus Punk. Drew versus Punk was okay. I don't really want to say too much about that match. I thought it was cool. It had good story, strap match. Like it was. Was it fucking with it?
No.
Yeah,
I
that match
watched
was cool.
the strap fall off the CM Punk arms over 20 times in my mind.
It was a botchamania.
So for that to be the stipulation and the stipulation wasn't working, trash. But we can continue working.
Yeah, I think they were just trying to sell that whole little bracelet thing going on. That was yeah. I don't know. That's a bit funky. But
I like the bracelet as the championship in their mind. I like that. Stepping on the person, holding up the bracelet,
yeah,
symbolism.
yeah.
I feel that. cool.
Yes, that's the same thing with Roman and Solo, right? They're using I don't know the
Oh,
name of it. I never get the
the
name of
The
that thing right.
Ulafala.
But the Ulafala, yeah, that's like the championship in that feud right now. It's like Roman picks it up, throws it on his head, and oh, he gets beat up.
they
Somebody
trying to have
takes
a
it back
little,
from. So
That
yeah, they trying
it,
to have like a
it's
little
dope.
symbolism, a little,
Yeah,
little
I love
symbolism in there.
symbolism. I love symbolism.
100%.
Yeah. Um. Yeah. I mean, yeah, that match was okay. I mean, story wise, I feel like it's one of the best things they got going on. But you know that that's not saying much when you look at the totality of like what they got going on, right? Like, it's not too many riveting stories that's like, yo, we need to tune in. Like, how many real like roster like wrestlers and factions can we say that for right now? So yeah. Uh, what was that other match? Rhea Ripley, Damian Priest. Um, that probably was the best one. I mean, like I said, just there's not too many great stories going on right now. To me, that was one of the best stories that they got. Hopefully, they continue that. I don't really know what they want to do with that. Um, but it was cool to see Rhea Ripley win. It was cool to see all of them like kind of like finally in the ring going at each other. So, and Rhea Ripley, she could sell. She sells the shit out of that. Like, her character, the way she acts, how she behaves, her mannerisms. Her and Liv Morgan got like perfect chemistry. That shit just flows. Dominic too. Dominic is really coming
Flourishing.
around. Yo, he up there. You cannot say that
That
a couple
that
couple
frog
months ago.
splash he hit Damian Priest with was beautiful. I said, "Oh, look at him
Like,
growing,
my
just growing
boy
up in front
growing
of us all, man."
up.
Shout out to Dom,
You
man.
know, Rey Mysterio crying in the back every night.
Shout out to
Yeah,
Dom.
man.
It's my kid, man. It's my
These second
kid.
generations, man.
Oh man. Um, but yeah, that was a really cool match. But like I said, it was something to watch, and not to tie it into AEW or like even bring up AEW because that,
Yeah,
uh, y'all already know what I be saying about that. But it's nice to get just nice matches, right? Like it's matches to see. And we know it don't really mean much because it's an overseas PLE. Like, what can you really do? But the main event, yeah, the main event was cool. I think Gunther being in that spotlight, coming home, like being around his people. You could see it on his face when he came out. He trying dumb hard not to be like hype. He got to sell the character. He like, damn,
facts.
I'm home. Like, Randy Orton was like, I think one of the perfect people to like go against in the setting because he's such a staple of the company. And it's like to have that match and just have them going at it. It was dope. I really liked that match. Um, but I kind of just wanted to get y'all thoughts overall about how y'all feel, just in terms of like the way they're running this format. I know we kind of touched on it in previous episodes, but it seems like like we said, they're going with the major headline pay per view, the SummerSlam, the Survivor Series, but then we get like this overseas pay per view, and I don't want to shit on it, but I'm gonna shit on it. I feel like a lot of what we get is just matches to have matches, right? Like it feels like it's filler, So how do y'all feel about running this type of format? Like, do you think it's more worth that? We work on this market because remember WWE is a publicly traded company, right? Like everything is investing. They gotta, sorry, they gotta like really market their company, and like Triple H has been trying to take this thing overseas for the longest time. Like we've seen the press conferences he makes. He's showing us NXT Japan, NXT Brazil, like having all these different training grounds in different countries. So what do y'all think about the advent of these major pay-per-views that we know is going to be like bangers versus overseas PLA? Like we know it's just most of the time throwaway matches. Like Crown Jewel is not going to be fire. It's just Undertaker versus Brock. Like, just as long as you got the household names, we fire. Like, so I just wanted to know your thoughts on that one.
For me, I feel like all the events that they're having is important. I feel like it gives every superstar opportunity not to only wrestle in normal events that they're comfortable with, but a chance to shine in PLEs. Like the aforementioned former WWE Women's Tag Champions. I felt like that was important for them to obtain the belt so that they could so that they could be seen on a different type of spotlight. That's why they obtained the belts the way they did. It's always about character growth. I was explaining this to my girl that character growth is really important. Everybody complains about not enough wrestlers, but when they try to push people, we get fatigued fast. So it's like a confusing thing as a wrestling fan that we have to learn that patience is key. Got to give people a chance to get put in positions that they're not used to so that we can see them and look at them differently than what we already have been. So yeah, as far as the PLEs and the extra pay-per-views, I feel like they're all important. I feel like they're going in the long run make more fans and more wrestlers. So that's how I feel.
I think it's
Uh,
just like I I see the way it's formatted, so it's like seeing it from almost that bird's eye view approach, right? Like you're looking at the whole of it. Like I don't know, it's something about it. It's like seeing matches that's like you feel like they're not really throwaways, but it never really amounts to nothing, right? So it's like I'm like, could that have gone to say a Braun Breaker? There's certain stars on a roster that you want to see just be involved. Like we didn't even see Braun Breaker this time, right? We didn't see any type of LA Knight type match. Like we don't see the Carmelo Hayes. Like what do you do with those guys in a sense? Like it kind of feels like they just fall to the wayside because we're in Berlin. We got to market this star. We got to
I
market
think
this
as
guy.
far as Bash at Berlin, it was more so for marketing for those characters, as far as the overseas popular characters.
Mm-hmm.
The people that you naming are definitely dope wrestlers, but as far as the overseas crowd go, and as far as getting the actual appeal of the overseas crowd and young people to wrestle, they don't really do nothing for it. The people that we seen at the pay per view is the people that we seen for that reason. They're gonna grow the sport overseas because they have more fans than a Carmelo Hayes. People don't really care about him yet, but we'll
Okay.
see in the future.
Okay.
As it grows. That's why, of course, those women were important pieces at this pay per view because they are, of course, from the area that the pay per view took place. So
All right.
yeah, I think it's a lot of importance. Excuse me, on those pay per views. One, like we said in previous episodes, like we just been reiterating here, opportunity is a lot of stars, is a lot of talent. So every card can't have Solo and the Bloodline on it. Every card
Yeah.
can't have Braun Breaker. Every card can't have L.A. Knight. Those guys were just on SummerSlam last month. All of those guys.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like you gotta find that balance. And two, it's business, right? I think when we watching wrestling, we watch it as fans, and we forget that Triple H's job is to entertain us, but also increase revenue and increase business. So when we get to pay per views like Bash at Berlin, like I said in the previous video, I don't think anything of note is gonna happen till maybe about like Survivor Series, excuse me. I don't think nothing of major news or major shifts in storylines is going to happen till Survivor Series. And I think we just got to go in with that mindset. I believe next month is Bad Blood. We know that's in Atlanta. That's Cody's hometown. So he's going to get the main event against whoever it is that he goes against. But it's business, right? You go to these new countries, you go to these new territories, you get more fans, you get more revenue, and you get more people from those places interested in wrestling. And maybe that event yesterday sparked the excitement in maybe 10 kids that was in the attendance. Now they want to be WWE superstars. Now they see that people from where they from are WWE superstars, and they get to fight in their hometown. So I think just remembering the fact that some of these are business. We not every if every pay-per-view was WrestleMania and SummerSlam, there would be no purpose of WrestleMania and SummerSlam, right? Those wouldn't stand out if every pay-per-view was supposed to be like that. So
Yeah.
I think just, for me, when I watch these pay-per-views, my expectations are tempered. Like I understand what I'm watching and how I'm watching, and I look through it from that lens. So from that lens, it's like I really enjoyed I want to say really, I enjoyed the pay-per-view for what it was, for what it needed to be. I
Yeah.
thought
For what they were trying to do with it.
I thought Randy and Gunther put on a solid match for what was just thrown at us 2 weeks ago, or maybe 3 weeks
Yeah.
ago.
Yeah.
That wasn't a build up type match. So I thought that was a great match. I thought a lot of those matches, except for the first one, I thought most of all of those matches were okay to good matches. So I just think moving forward, like I said, we get Bad Blood next. I think we got to have the same level of expectations for Bad Blood that we did for Bash at Berlin, where it's like, okay, maybe one or two good matches, maybe something interesting here and there, but nothing to where we go, whoa, that was crazy. Like you saw that. It's probably going to be Solo versus Cody again.
You think so?
Yeah, I don't see them going any other route. I remember Solo in his promo on Friday. He was like, "Whoever wins that match, I'm coming for you next." That was kind of paraphrasing what he was saying. So, yeah, I think he'll get. I think Cody will get Solo in his hometown of Atlanta. I think that's the best match you could give him right now, unless you're telling me something else is going to come around in a month that's going to make us go, wow, we'll much rather see that. So, like, and that's the lens I try to watch wrestling from now, too. Like, all right, I don't like this, but what is the alternative? And if I can't think of an alternative that would have been better than what I'm actually watching, that also makes sense. Like, of course, I could say the alternative would be Roman Reigns, but like, we're not gonna see Roman Reigns and Cody Rhodes fight at Bash at Berlin, bro. Like, so even making sure my expectations are realistic. So, yeah, I think it'll be Solo again, and it'll kind of be the same result. Maybe that's when they'll have Jimmy come back, or maybe that's when we'll start seeing a piece or two here and there come back. And I think that's what we got to look for, pieces, right? Pieces to the big puzzle. I think it's kind of like a Marvel movie, right? Not every Marvel movie is going to be Infinity Wars or Endgame, right? But you got to build up to those Infinity Wars and Endgame. And sometimes you got to watch trash movies throughout that you don't care nothing about. But when you get to that Infinity Wars and you get to that Endgame, you like, it's all worth it.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. And nah, that definitely makes a lot of sense. But then, okay, so how would y'all if y'all Triple H right now, right? How would y'all book that Bad Blood pay per view? Well, I know because I know you said Cody. You would book the Cody and Soto as a main event.
Yeah,
How would
for
y'all
sure.
construct
I
the
think
whole?
I think Cody versus Solo is just the match that makes the most sense. Forget taking about like what I actually want to see. No, obviously you want to see Cody versus maybe a Randy Orton or maybe a Roman Reigns or something like. But I think a month time is too quick to kind of expect those type of matches.
Yeah.
So I think it's going to be Solo. I do think it'll be. I hope it's Jey Uso fighting Braun Breaker for the IC title. I think that's another topic eventually we got to really start discussing. It's like I don't really think they was prepared for this Jey Uso wave of stardom and fan love because you could tell they're not writing for it. They're
Yeah.
not writing for it. So, but I hope he's there. So at least you get a moment of everybody in the bloodline is in the same arena, even if it's
Yeah.
just for that. Forget, I don't think he's going to beat Braun Breaker, but even if there's a backstage scene and you see Jimmy walk past Jay or they look at each other for the first time, they don't say nothing. Maybe it's just that type of build up. But I hope Jay's there fighting Braun Breaker. I hope he wins this IC tournament so that the bloodline could all be in the same place. Maybe the bloodline come out and cost Jay that match against Braun Breaker. You don't know, but I think bad blood we're gonna start seeing at least little angles or little puzzle pieces on how they plan on bringing this together for a Survivor Series match. So I think that's what I'm looking forward to the most. Just the next piece in that.
What you think? Oh, how you booking?
Um, I pretty much agree with everything Dwayne said. It as far as the bad blood goes, it's it's simple. It's got to be Solo versus Cody, and as far as everything around it, has to somehow lead up to us seeing the bloodline looking at each other, the two different versions, or whatever the case may be. I feel like that'll be the time if they don't push it forward, like push it up some. But I think that'll be the perfect time for Jimmy to come back. But yeah, Bad Blood is probably another throwaway, maybe until Survivor Series. I think that's when we start to see more of a build up for the Bloodline versus Bloodline. Maybe even a Rock return or something like that. Maybe up in the air. You
Hmm.
never know. But yeah, that's about it. That's about
Yeah.
it as far as Bad Blood. I'm not really too excited for Bad Blood personally. I know it'll be a couple good matches though.
I do feel like they're gonna try to hype it up as much as they can because, like, it's one of those. returning pay-per-views, right? Like, we're bringing it back into the
Right.
spotlight. I just hope that they start doing stuff with the titles more, honestly. Like, I just want to see some more titles thrown in the mix. I know that's not everything. The title isn't the be-all, end-all. But it's like, oftentimes we just be seeing, like, we don't even think about the tag titles anymore. They split them shits up. We won't even consider that. But like Dwayne said, it would be nice to see like Jey Uso in the IC title, type of match, like something around there, just to have the match. Like, it doesn't even matter win or lose. Like, it's cool to see certain guys be in that
Get a chance.
in that realm, right? Yeah, like get that chance. Like, you know, is why I'm even a fan of a person like Nakamura, in a sense, right? That motherfucker ain't winning shit, but you want to see him in that realm just fighting because he got a cool move.
Nakamura and Jay top 10 all time.
Facts.
Yo,
Facts.
Jeff
this
Hardy
is
4,
crazy.
Shinsuke Nakamura 8.
This is crazy, man.
Facts. Oh, just so y'all know, Joe Hendry believes in Jeff Hardy, so I think I'm justified in my Mount Rushmore. I just wanted to say that real quick. I think I'm a little justified because they definitely just had that match like a couple days ago. That shit was fire. But yeah.
Joe Hendry was your.
You gotta
Oh,
believe, man. You gotta
Confirmation.
believe. You gotta see. O's a believer. O's a believer.
hey. If that's what that face O's making right now mean, then hey, oh believer.
Who oh? Can't be this oh.
Can't be this though. Yeah. So that's yeah. I'm looking forward to this Bad Blood. Um, hopefully they start to give us something that we could really, like we said, the ramp up the WrestleMania. Um, I'm just hoping that the storylines finally, like I want to see something worth watching. Not to say like WWE isn't worth watching right now, but like O said that too. It's the slow, like you gotta pace it right. The slow grind matters the most. I'm
Yeah,
hoping.
no, 100%. It's like when you get to month 4 in basketball. It's like you watching the games, but it's like, all right,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know, we at game 38 of 82.
Me too.
It's like maybe Braun not gonna play this one. All right, maybe Kawhi ain't going as hard as he should.
Right.
It's like that point. They every week wrestling is every week, man. Three hours on Monday, 2 for NXT, 2 for SmackDown. Then you got a pay-per-view every month. It's like, it's gonna do this. But I think that's why we enjoy wrestling, right? If wrestling was just this, I don't think it'd be as, you know, entertaining to watch if it was just on the same plane. You need the peaks and the valleys, right? So I think that's what makes it fun to watch.
100%.
Yeah, 100%. All right, so we got a first NBA topic, and it's a 100% a hot one. 100% a hot one.
For his
I
life.
wanted to touch on what Anthony Edwards said this past week. It's kind of crazy. But I feel like this is generally the state of old heads versus these young bloods nowadays. Like how we all feel about basketball, how we think about certain players. So just from reading this article, we got Anthony Edwards talking about how back then players didn't have as much skill or any skill for that matter, which is funny because he goes and says, I didn't watch it back in the day, so I can't really speak on it, but they say it was tougher back then than it is now, but nobody had skill back then except maybe for Jordan. And I'm like, it's interesting that you say that you didn't watch the game, but you know Jordan and you don't think anybody has skill. Like, that's such an interesting take. And then, we have people like Magic Johnson firing back, KG firing back, Paul Pierce. Like, Magic violated. Like he was like, this man has never won anything. Which, valid claim though. Valid claim. Magic could talk his shit because Magic is Magic, right? Like, bro is MVP rookie of the year title. Like the man came, the man was just born to win, right? Like he could say that, but you know, I think it's just weird that he, he felt like that. You know, just considering like you not saying that you even watched the sport back then, and to just miss out on the Isaiah Thomases, right? Like the David Robinsons, fucking Bernard King, like so many great scorers. Just like I'm just naming random people. I'm just off the top of the head. I'm like, yo, these are fucking amazing players. Like, and to say that they didn't have skill, yo, yo. But I mean, I guess like I do kind of like what Paul Pierce said because he tried to like level it out. You know, he was basically like, you know, saying it's not really true. Like people had skill, but he thinks that the skill level has gotten better with this generation. But
Excuse me. Oh my God.
overall, he don't think that makes you a better player, which I think I can kind of agree with, right? Like that seems to make sense. And then KG wasn't having it. We know KG. KG was like it was physical. It was a physical league. Like like 20 years ago, you couldn't get a triple step back, whatever that means. He's like we had efficiency back in the day. You know, like he was like the league had to kind of move away from that. You know, for the flow of movement, for like that pace and space style that we see nowadays, and for like the scoring to be what it is now. Because if you think about it, right, we didn't really have the scoring that we have now back then. Some games used to end what like 90 to 85. Like
Hmm.
games were like very it was very situational. And he's right, there was an efficiency to it. So in a sense, I can kind of see what he's saying, right? It might not look the best stat wise, right? Because you go into your first 2, 3 options, right? You're not looking at like no one's looking at John Paxson and hits you that three, right? You know, like pass the ball to MJ, pass the ball to Scotty,
Right.
and we see if we can find somebody else in the cut, like maybe Steve Kerr open, but get these motherfuckers the ball, score that shit, right? Like
100%.
you're trying to win the game, even if the game ends up being 60 to 45. Like it's just the way the game was played. But I guess like like Kevin Garnett said, now we have this league where scoring is up, the flashiness is up, everybody can handle the ball. We want to see the Steph Curry 45 footer from down court. Like we want to see shit like that. Like it's not so much just seeing just the flashy ISO Mike Jordan and just having your 1 or 2 scores and that's it, right? Like you know. So I don't know. I don't really know how I feel about it overall. I think Ant Edwards is a little crazy, but maybe there's some truth to what he's saying. I don't know. What? How do y'all attack this argument?
I think when it comes to basketball, one thing that we always do is try to compare things that aren't really truthfully comparable. Anthony Edwards said himself that he didn't watch the game back then, so it makes his whole message null and void. To me, to me personally, it makes the whole message null and void if you ain't watched the game. Why you even speaking on it? That's just that simple to
That
me.
is a fact.
I ain't gonna lie. Yeah, you ain't watching film on these guys or nothing. You just speaking just to speak, and
That's what I'm saying.
that's just crazy. Like sometimes you got to be able to plead the fifth, or say I'm not too familiar with those time periods, or just change the subject at times. We don't always have to speak on
Yeah.
things that down others. And I think that's something that we also do too much when it comes to sports in general. We try to downplay others' greatness to uphold or lift up somebody else's greatness or a time period's greatness, and it's kind of trash to be honest, because it's different everything. It's different rules, different players, different coaching, different ownership, different. It's so much differences to even
Because remember,
compare.
right? Not to cut you off, but back then, right? Because
Hmm.
KG said it was more physical, right? They had hand checking back then, right? Like you can
Hmm.
hand check, like you could like actually use your body. It wasn't like you had to just be like space from the player and play that
Hmm.
way. Like you could body somebody up. So like you said, the way the game is played is vastly different.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. So I don't see how Anthony Edwards could even speak on this on the game. and I didn't think that Kevin Garnett took the right approach in his response either, due to the fact that he felt so uh, disrespected and disgusted, and the fact that Anthony Edwards would even speak on their generation in that sake. But I agree with Paul Pierce. Paul Pierce had the right idea, the right mindset about it, because I don't think the skill level 1 through 5 is much different. But when you go on 1 through 12, that's when you're talking about a whole different ballgame. Uh, but yeah, that's pretty much how I feel about it personally. I would like to hear what Dwayne thinks about it as well.
100%, bro. I think everything you and Jay been saying so far isn't. I didn't say anything I could disagree with. Only thing I want to add is just looking at it from the other side, where you have a lot of the times these older players and these old heads saying that a lot of these guys couldn't have played with them 20, 30 years ago, and that part of it I disagree with as well. I like vehemently disagree with that one. Like, first of all, if you just
So you
think
think they
about it, we
could?
live in. Hell yeah, I think they could. Hell yeah, I think they could. I think you prep and prepare for what the game is, right? So when you're going through high school, when you're going through college, you most coaches that's coaching, knowing that that's the pipeline for the players, or if they coaching at a school where they know a lot of their players go to the NBA, they're gonna be coaching for where the game is. So they're gonna be coaching if you a center now, if you a center in the four, they coaching that you gotta know how to at least shoot the three, knock the three down. They coaching that you gotta know how to pass the ball and shit like that. So I think it's all about the era and the way your coach is gonna be, how you ultimately lead into the game. And then
Right.
now we living in an era where we never thought there would legitimately be somebody that would be you could debate that's over Jordan in the GOAT conversation. We got that in Braun. We never thought we'd have somebody you could legitimately debate is a better point guard than Magic. We got that in Steph. We never thought it was somebody you're going to be able to debate that offensive game is probably better than Larry Bird's. We got that in KD. So it's like you say with a lot of these guys, we say these things like they couldn't play back then. I think that is just a wild statement to say too. I think there's a few people that probably couldn't have played now that played back then, and vice versa. But I don't think Kevin Garnett saying that in response to Anthony Edwards, I don't think he's one of the guys you can say, oh, you probably couldn't have played back then, because there's nothing about his game that makes me think he couldn't have played back then. He plays deep. He plays both sides of the ball. He's an athletic freak. Listen, that's I'm not saying he's him, but that sounds like
I mean,
the
that's gotta
profile
matter,
for
right?
MJ. That sounds like the MJ profile, right? Not saying that Anthony Edwards is MJ. I'm not trying to compare, but I'm just saying based off a profile, like you got people that have the MJ profile. Of course, they don't
That
have the MJ accolades and the MJ's achievements, but his profile, you got players that had it. Kawhi Leonard got Michael Jordan hands. Kawhi Leonard could play defense like MJ. Kawhi Leonard could score like MJ. You
yeah.
got these guys, not saying, but he doesn't have the accolades. So you respect MJ and that MJ has the accolade. But I don't think a lot of those guys back then, skill for skill, pass, dribble, shoot, play defense, perimeter, inside the paint, all like skill by skill. I don't think back then it was that much of a gap, if a gap at all. I just think new era of basketball, right? And offense is always going to sell tickets. So the NBA got to a point where it's like, people go to these games to see Steph Curry, like O said, score 45, score 50. People don't go to games to watch lock up defensive clinics. People don't care about that.
We
That's
ain't
not.
trying to see no
And
Tony Allen.
nah, and I think the NBA knew that, and I think that's why you saw some of the rule changes, some of the freedom and movement, the space, and all of that stuff. And I think when you come from back then, you're not going to appreciate that. You like the hard fouls. All of them were still fouls. It was just whether it was a flagrant or not. I think a lot of the times, even people back then, they hype up this physical type of like you foul these guys, they're gonna
Yeah.
go to the line and shoot the free throws, bro. Like our best players are shooting 90% from Steph Curry, Kyrie. Those guys are 90% from the free throw line. So it's like I don't really get why a lot of those players back then say that these players from today couldn't play. Like Jokic on this trajectory, he might go down as he might catch up to Kareem if Jokic stay on this trajectory. If I'm being not in terms of points, but in terms of sheer accolades, when we start talking about MVPs, when we talk about first team All NBAs, when we start, I don't think Denver's finals runs are done. Like when you start talking about those
Mm-hmm.
things, you got a guy like Jokic that people are already arguing is the most skilled center to ever play the game, and that era had Hakeem. You know what I'm saying? So it's like
Yo, for real.
it's a new game, but these players are
Oh,
really
fuck.
really good, really really good. So I agree with
Mm-hmm.
everything y'all said, but I just think on the other side of it, when a lot of those old heads like to say stuff like that, I'm just like, oh, like
I just
stop it.
feel like they put too much on the physicality of the sport, like back then. And my thing is like, was it really that? Like, you know,
Now the sport was much more physical back then. I'm
Yeah,
not gonna lie.
no, it
no,
I
was.
no,
can't. I
no,
can't.
no, no. I know that, nah, for sure. But I'm just saying, like, it seems like they keep trying to push this narrative of like, oh, well, the players in the NBA wouldn't have survived back then because they soft, right, quote unquote. That's like, yeah, it was physical, but like we said, like we see all these great players now. Like, how much of that is would succumb to the physicality of the game? You know, like I don't know if
I
being
mean,
more physical with KD would have stopped him from scoring like damn near 30 a game tonight. Like it
I
just
mean,
like
you gotta take into account that people are more injured in this day and age. I'm not gonna lie. A lot of players are more injury prone and going through a lot more treacherous injuries than back in the 80s, 70s, or even in the 90s. So if you take into the account of the physicality, there could be some truth when it based on the science that they wouldn't be able to survive based
I
on the
heard
science.
JJ, I heard JJ Redick talk through that point one time on a pod. I think with LeBron, or maybe it was just on his own pod, and he was saying that when in today's NBA, where you're playing about maybe 20, 25, 30 more possessions a game, the space is so much higher. Everybody's running, everybody could dribble, pass, and shoot. You're covering so much more distance. There's a lot of pick and rolls and a lot of switches. So like in a sense that of course that era was more physical, but in terms of what the demands on your body play by play in today's NBA, I think is much different than the demands on the body play by play from back then. So yeah, the
Mm-hmm.
physical fouls and stuff, but these guys was finishing, 90 to 82 some games. Some
yeah,
games they only
so
got up
pace.
46 shots the whole game. 40 some teams are shooting 32 threes a game. Threes. And some of these teams were just getting up 46 field goal attempts,
That's true.
48 field goal attempts in the game. So I think even the injuries, it's like because you're covering so much more space. You're asking so much more guys to cover from the box all the way to the 3-point line. Each direction, like you got to be able to dribble, pass, shoot, no matter no matter your spot on the floor. So it's like when JJ Redick explained like that, I understood it. So I think injuries are gonna naturally be up the more physical the more physically demanding the game is. I think the game is very physically demanding today, but just in a different way. You
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
you every team we got this pace thing where like that's almost like every team's MO. They just want to run. The Pacers, they just want to
Oh
run.
shit.
The Warriors, they want
Yeah.
to run. The
So
Lakers, they love to run. So it's
it's like
like
less of a contact, but more of a
yeah,
movement. Yeah.
but the demands on your body when you running up and down the court and you 6'10", 6'11", you a center, bro, you going to get to the point where you huffing and puffing and now you can't jump
Switching
like
on
you want to.
guards.
You can't, yeah, switching the guards and everything. They used to fight through screens because they wasn't
Mm-hmm.
worrying about the point guard coming up shooting a three from 30 every game. You got to worry about that now.
That's why Dewan
Think
playing
about it.
kneecaps is
All of the better teams, you have to worry about that. You got to guard Damian Lillard when he come up the court. You got to guard Derek White and Drew Holiday when they come up the court. You got to guard Steph. You got to guard Kyrie. You got to guard Luka. These guys that could just pull up from 30 like it's nothing. So it's like you can't really fight screens too much anymore because the offensive prowess of these point guards, and that's another thing. Like point guard, what a point guard is nowadays. Like I know we had those hybrids back then, but in terms of mass, like these point guards are scorers
yeah,
now.
I'm
You
close.
you're not
Yeah.
coming into the league as a point guard averaging 12 and 12 no more. Those days are just over. And shout out to Steve Nash, one of my favorite point guards all the time. You're not averaging 14 and 11 no more,
Yeah,
15 and
no
11,
more Chris
and even
Pauls.
winning MVPs off that. You're not doing that no more. You're not doing that in today's
Yeah,
NBA.
winning an MVP like that is wild these
You're not doing that no more. We would never see that again.
You couldn't
We
even
would
fathom
never
that.
see Steve Nash numbers winning the MVP ever again.
Now it's like 29, 9, and 7 with like
Yeah.
1.3 steals. Like
Yeah.
sometimes.
Thanks, Bron. Thanks, Kevin Durant. Thanks, Steph Curry. These guys that just came in and totally changed the way
Well, it's
you
the
view
league.
offense. Yeah. It's a
So,
different game.
nah, that's true. But like I was saying, I just think that's why the comparisons be so weird. You know, it's like it's just it's vastly different time periods, like vastly different time periods. You know, and that's the thing. Like we love to do the comparisons and who would have did what and who would have played better in this era. But it's like it's just it's like two different worlds at this point. You know, like.
Yeah.
But yeah, I do think the players of today's era could survive in that league. You know, could definitely survive in that league if they have the skills they have now and not the skills as it would have translated to back then. Hell, can't even fucking think about what a LeBron would do in that league. Like his numbers would be astronomical.
It would be pretty
Or
astronomical.
Kawhi Leonard, like
Crazy.
imagine Kawhi Leonard
It
play
would be
defense in that
astronomical.
league.
Come on.
Man would average like 5 steals a game.
Yeah, but then you know what's crazy about it too, because I also think, you know, those older head guys and some of the guys
Mhm.
that talk sports, they want to prop up Michael Jordan so much. I think that they don't realize how it make people view these other players, right? When you propping up Mike so much to the point where you can act like Scottie Pippen's contributions wasn't
Was
as
minuscule.
important as they were,
Mm-hmm.
and you hear these guys on the media outlets talk as if Scottie Pippen was just like somebody that just rolled MJ coattail, as if either of them won without each other, you know. And those are the things I think
Yeah,
that generation got to be careful in doing, because it's gonna make these younger players just go, okay, these guys don't even like. I just looked at Scotty's numbers, and that nigga was damn near averaging a triple double. We gotta bleep that out. But that person was averaging a triple double, and y'all telling me his numbers don't matter. Y'all telling me this was all Mike. Y'all telling me this is his Michael Jordan world, and everybody else was living in it. And they make it seem like those 8 years is the only 8 years from 90 to 98 that Michael Jordan played. And I think if they start doing a better job at highlighting the importance of some of those role players, I think it'll be a little bit easier for this next generation to say, "Oh, okay, that's the
or
Scottie
like
Pippen guy.
appreciate
That's the
that.
Joe Dumars guy. That's the James Worthy guy." Like the guys that we don't ever talk about anymore.
Yeah,
We only talk about Scotty for controversy. We don't ever talk about how great Scotty was. People throw that in as a side point when they
yeah.
don't want to seem like they biased. They'll be like, and Scotty's a Hall of Famer, la la la, but they never really highlight the importance. They never highlight that Mike was just a scorer before he got Scotty. He wasn't winning nothing. He wasn't doing nothing. He was getting bounced in the first round. You know? So
Even like a
but that's
Rodman,
not the
right?
narrative that they want you to hear, because they propping up Mike so much that I don't think sometimes they realize what it's doing to all of these other players. And I think in this era, because of, I guess you want to say social media, maybe everybody's highlight. Bron's highlighted, he leads the front, but Steph Curry's achievements aren't in the back burner. Kevin Durant's achievements aren't in the back burner. Now you got Jokic coming up, so it's like everybody talks about the collection of talent. And I think if people did a good job of doing that and highlighting that for them, instead of just, you know, propping up Mike every chance they got, I think that would be helpful.
Yeah, yeah, for
I
sure,
agree.
for sure. All right, so I actually wanted to, you know, kind of bring this back just to cap off the show. You know, get a little debate going.
Yes, sir.
So you know, like we talking
Yeah.
about, you know, this difference between, you know, past and present. Um, you know, who would survive in a physical league, you know, and how would the players of back then translate to this new era and vice versa, right? You know, we have such a such a just riveting. Everybody's got a hot take on this, right? But speaking of Kevin Garnett, I kind of wanted to bring something to light how do y'all feel about my boy Kevin Garnett stacking up versus AD? Would AD survive in the 1990s basketball era if KG was in his
Well, first of
prime?
all, I'm gonna stop you. I'm gonna stop you right there, Jay. I'm gonna stop you right there. Anthony Davis would survive any basketball ever. First things first. The disrespect, the AD, the Anthony Marshawn Davis Jr. slander will not prosper on this podcast. It was not. AD will survive in
I'm
any era.
100% with you, bro. I'm 100% with
Any era. My bad. I didn't mean to cut you off. You could
you.
finish
Nah,
your
you
question. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
I'm 1,000. No, I'm 1,000% with you because in a sec. I'm gonna read off these stats because they're kind of crazy. But it just seeing Kevin Garnett speak so like passionately about his era and like that facet of the game and the physicality and the hand checking and he talking about we was grown men back then. It was a fraternity, but like we said, right? Like we we see players from back then, and we basically have those comparisons in the new era, right? Like we have the Larry Bird to the Kevin Garnett, we have the um, Jordan to LeBron, and we have the who else do we mention? The Magic to the Steph Curry, right? Like we see those comparisons in today's game, but like I'm looking at AD versus Garnett right now, right? I'm gonna just read this off, right? AD so far has played 736 games. Kevin Garnett has played 1,462. AD's averaging 24.1 points. Garnett averaged 17.8. 10.6 rebounds for AD. 10 rebounds on the dot for Garnett. 2.5 assists for AD. 3.7 assists for Garnett. 1.3 steals for AD. 1.3 for Garnett. They tied. 2.3 fucking blocks a game for Anthony Davis, the GOAT. 1.4 for Garnett. And then AD clears him in damn near every shooting percentage category that is hit. Shoots 52% from the field, shoots better threes, better free throws, slightly better free throws, but the only thing that Garnett has over him obviously is the All NBA, All Defense, MVP, Defensive Player of the Year, 15-time All-Star. But obviously, AD being only in the game for 11, 10, 11, 12
Yeah,
years.
about 12 years.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so it. I don't know,
I
man.
think last year was his 10th year.
It was.
What year
I
was
think
last
AD
year?
came into the league in 12.
11th year, yeah,
20. Yeah, because he's
12th
around our
year, 12th
age.
year, 12th year,
He's around
12th
our
year,
age.
Yeah.
Yeah.
12th year
Mm-hmm.
last year.
Yeah. He's born like the same year as us. So, yeah. I just automatically look at the blocks, right? Like 2.3 blocks. Yo, he would have been smoking some of these teams back then. I ain't gonna lie. Like a center that can move like him, like run the floor like him. Like he got some type of dribble, right? Like he ain't the worst or the best ball handler, but compared to those guys back then, like imagine him stacked up against a Luke Longley. Oh my god, bro, he would have fucking he would put 60 on that man's head. But yeah, how do y'all feel about this? Like overall, I know how Dwayne feels. I
I
know
mean,
Dwayne
listen. You know how I feel about AD, man. I think,
That's wait
I think,
championship AD, championship AD. Gotta.
yeah. Oh yeah, you gotta. Yeah, but that's championship KG though. See, I'm not going to use my time on our pod to slander KG because I have nothing but positive quality things to say about the great Kevin Garnett. But when we talking about AD, right? You read off the statistics: points, rebounds, assists, blocks, all of that stuff. 8 less years, 8 less seasons, I believe, if the math is added. If you take in terms of KG's career in AD, I think the gap is like 8 seasons right now. I think
Something
KG
like
played
that.
about
Yeah.
what 20, 21, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So I think sometimes the total stats, total points, total rebounds, total assists, obviously, that's going to be in KG favor. But when you talk about a guy that won in college, won in won in the NBA, won an Olympic gold medal, won the first NBA Cup. Like
Wait,
what?
he has a
What
gold medal?
happened, AD? Huh?
He has a gold medal.
He
He
got
was in
two. He
Miami
got one
Heat.
this year. Yeah, he got one this year, and he got one in Kobe's last one.
Oh, I mean, yeah, that's what I meant. That was what the 2012 team.
Yeah, it was
So
2012.
he got two medals then.
Yeah, he got two.
Two.
He
Okay.
got two gold medals. Yeah, I think it was 2012 and 2024. So
Gotcha.
London and Paris. So for me, like when you got somebody that's winning on that level, and I don't think there's anything in Anthony. I don't think Anthony Davis has a flaw in his game. I think the one thing you could argue is maybe the 3-point percentage. I think that's something he had to adjust to in the league. He don't shoot the three ball at a high clip. Probably still a little better than KG. They probably around the same,
Like 2%
but
better.
yeah. So that's not much. But when you talk about a guy's ability to score wherever he want and defend however he want and wherever he want and how much ground he can cover defensively, I think to me that's what separates those two guys. Like I respect KG's defensive ability, but also at the same time, like he wasn't blocking shots at the rate Anthony Davis was. Now he was still like he got into the passing lanes a little bit more, and I think he averaged more steals. But I don't think he was blocking shots at the rate of AD. And then AD in terms of what we asking him to do on this Lakers team, bro. Like look at what AD was when he was next to DeMarcus Cousins. Look at what AD was when we won the championship when he was next to Dwight and JaVale McGee. I think asking AD to go to the center, even that's something that like KG played center at a point in his career, but I don't think at any point that was his primary role like on the team. So I think even looking at that, I take that into account. And last but not least, AD a Laker, so you know how that go. That's he's always gonna be better than anybody from Boston. Let's just be clear. Like I said, one in college, do the Draymond, one in college, yeah, one in the league, yeah, one in the Olympic, yeah, won the World Cup, yeah. He
Yeah.
won in high school, yeah. That's just AD, man. He's him. Like AD to me, okay, what nobody say, skill wise, top five power forward all time. You heard it here.
Yo, it's
I'm
crazy.
saying it.
You was right about the block numbers. I'm looking at his whole career. He never averaged over 2.3. He never even touched 2.3 blocks for any season. That's crazy. So wait, what year did he get Defensive Player of the Year?
Who?
Garnett.
KG got defensive player of the year.
Was that
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 oh
wasn't his
09,
MVP season?
that
Yeah,
no,
oh
it was the
08. I think it
championship
was the year
season.
they won,
Oh 8,
2008.
yeah, the championship
Yeah,
season.
yeah,
08, 09, or was it
Damn,
just
that's
08?
crazy.
07, 08.
yeah, 07, 08.
That's 08. That's
He
wild.
played, and looking at KG stats from that year, he played 71 games. He averaged 18 point, about 19 points, about 9 rebounds, 3 assists, about little over one steal, little over one block. Again, it's a different NBA, but y'all would kill Anthony Davis if he averaged
It's
18 and 9 anywhere.
how much the league changed though. Like we don't even look at Defensive Player of the Year like that anymore. Cause that's crazy.
Bro,
That's nothing. Like,
oh, like, bro, KG averaged 18 and 9 that year, bro. Y'all would kill Anthony Davis if
that's a fact.
Anthony
That's a
Davis
fact.
finished the season averaging 18 and 9.
That's
All due
like
respect to Kevin Garnett, but let's just be honest about what we would be saying about Anthony Davis if he was averaging 18 and 9 in the season. We
Not
would
if
we
they
would
was in the
they be
championship.
slamming the fuck out of him.
not yes we would. We don't care. We don't care. We do not care. If AD averaged
Yeah.
18 and 9, it could be like, first of all, AD can't average 18 and 9 and not enter the championship. The skill around him ain't like that. Ain't like that. Like the year we had Rondo in the maybe, but let's not forget who was on that Boston team. So if you give AD a season to where all he really had to primarily do was focus on defense and score here and there because he got a Paul Pierce and a Ray Allen and a Rondo to run the show, but what we ask AD to do on a nightly basis, we gotta remember we asking him to guard centers. We asking him to guard Jokic, and we asking him to guard Embiid, and we asking him to guard these guys. We was not asking Kevin Garnett to guard Shaq. We
You know
was
what's
not
crazy
asking him
though?
to do that.
For it was definitely
We
a
was
time though. I don't know if y'all remember that, but they was like, "Yo, Kevin Garnett could guard all five positions." I never,
100%.
I never really seen it because I back then I couldn't watch KG like that, right? Like I ain't
100%,
have
bro.
the
KG
attention.
was that guy, and I think that's where these debates get funky. But I would love to hear O's stance on this topic.
Um, I think it's pretty. I think it's pretty close. Like stats to tell one part of the story, but you gotta always put into the stats that KG played 20 seasons. So we gotta
Yeah,
you always gotta put that into recognition that KG played 20 seasons. Granted, some of his prime seasons was pretty darn elite. I ain't gonna lie.
Yeah,
Uh,
no. Yeah,
yeah,
that's a fact.
um,
24 and 13
um,
is wild.
I could say that Anthony Davis might be a little bit more prolific on the defensive end than KG, but not as crazy as the stats would make it seem. I think KG does so much on the defensive end as far as communicating his awareness, his switching at a time period where it wasn't normal. Like like this is expected. The switches and things of that nature is expected of Anthony Davis. It was a shocker to see somebody like Kevin Garnett doing that at 6'11". So it's a little different when it comes to time period and things of that nature. And I think the scoring is also different. Like the floor is so much more space. Like I think if if Kevin Garnett played in the NBA of this time period where the floor is so spaced, I think his points per game would be crazy higher. I'm not gonna lie, it'd be a lot higher. Oh my gosh, you can't double
Hey,
KG
I think you might be
and there's
right
no
about
center in the paint.
that.
yeah.
Oh my god,
Because like they say, how they say we in
that's
like a
that's that's
space
30 a
league now,
game.
right? And I
He
seen that
go,
graph.
y'all gotta remember he averaging 23, 25 with a center in the paint
Right.
with him and a small forward who not shooting that well. So I don't
Because they
know.
were saying like
It's a
back then, if
tough
you look
comparison.
at KG shot chart, it was like
Mm-hmm.
he used to take so many shots in front of the 3 point line, like long twos and catch
Middies,
shits, and he was
Yeah,
water every single time.
middies.
But I think O kind of highlighted something because imagine if like in this era, right, the pace of six, obviously he's going to step out to the three in this era. He probably would have been like ridiculous in scoring.
I
Like
think
I think we
that.
got to
KG
be
at
careful.
the
I think we got to be careful when using these type of hypotheticals, though. I think when you're making a debate as to who's better, you just got to use the information that's in front of you, right? Because I would make the same argument for a guy like DeMar DeRozan, right? But we see clearly DeMar DeRozan needs that step or two inside the 3 point line to be a little bit more efficient than him stepping to the 3 point line. So I know we like to think that step or two is not as drastic as we may want it to be, but that
that's
step or two
drastic.
is a drastic, completely different shot. And I think guys like DeMar DeRozan and even Kobe showed us that that's a drastic step or two in
100%.
terms of how you prepare. So I think while I may agree, I think there's a lot of hypotheticals that I could use even for AD because a lot of these hypotheticals, especially defensive player of the year, I could argue at least 2 or 3 seasons. I could argue he should have won them. I'd argue that 20. I argue the year we won the championship. I know Giannis won both. I know Giannis won MVP and Defensive Player of the Year that year. But remember, LeBron was second in MVP and AD was second in Defensive Player of the Year that year. That was the year we won the championship. And I really thought AD should have got Defensive Player of the Year. I didn't fully think Braun should have got MVP, but I really think he should have won that over Giannis that year. And I think it was like another year, like last year, it was really great, but the team record wasn't that good. But Anthony Davis was our defense last year.
Mhm.
He was the defense. Forget just being like the best defender. He was the defense. When you got Reeves and D'Lo and Braun going to pick his spots and insert Rui, who not really AD was was the defense, bro. So it all depends on I think your preference. I know KG played in a different time. I just think AD. Like I said, I think it's close, but I would edge AD. For me personally, I'm just edging AD. KG is a Hall of Famer though. This is not to slight Kevin Garnett at all, because unfortunately these debates feel like that sometimes,
Yeah.
where like you got to knock down somebody else to uplift the next person.
To get
Hmm.
Yeah. And I just think, and also given, some of the unfortunate luck. Like I do think that DeMarcus Cousins year with Drew Holiday and Rondo, boy, if Boogie could have stayed healthy and didn't tear his Achilles, what that team could have been. That
Yo, that
team,
tandem was scary, man.
that that team was different, bro. And again, I liken that to like them '08 Celtics where, okay, KG, we don't need you to handle the scoring load that you had in Minnesota. We got P for that. We got Ray Allen for that. Rondo gonna handle the playmaking. We just need you to be the defensive anchor. I can only imagine if that's all we asked of Anthony Davis. If we asked Anthony Davis, just go out there, give me 18 and 9, which AD could get in his sleep. Go out there, give me 18 and 9, and you just solely focus on defense, bro. Again, that's why I say the hypotheticals are rough because that would be my hypothetical in response. Like KG wasn't asked to be or world KG on himself on that Celtics championship team.
But when he got to the Celtics, don't forget that was like his 13th season in the league.
Yeah, I
For
mean
KG.
KG. I mean AD. I like 12.
Yeah, that's why we gotta wait till this 13th season to see what Anthony Davis do. It could be a drop off. It could be a drop off.
I don't think if there's a 1 season gap in terms of something that we debate, and I don't think that's as drastic as a 5 season or a 10 season gap. You're asking a 1 season gap, so obviously you hope players stay healthy. We assuming everybody's healthy in the debate, right? We're not gonna assume injury, but if his drop off come because he has, God forbid, this wild injury, I don't think I could look at that and say like KG didn't have a wild injury to where I watched him try to come back and still be Kevin Garnett. So that's why I don't I don't give a pass for those later years. Like you played, you played. Like Kobe, I give a little bit of a pass to. Boy came back from torn
Achilles,
Achilles.
yeah.
Yeah, so he tried to play a little bit more seasons. And even with Kobe, he ain't start off his career playing. He was on the bench. So it's like I understand in certain contexts you got to take into account. Like, all right, don't count those last 4 or 5 years. But I think we got to. I think every year you play, it counts. It counts towards how we look at you. It counts towards how we rank you. Every year, I can't just. And I think that's the thing that people do with Mike. They look at those 90 years and try to make us forget the 80s years and the early 2000s years. And I don't think that's fair when you like ranking players. It all matters. If you got knocked out in the first round, that matters. If you get if like because when you start debating these guys, you have to nitpick because they're all so great. You
Yeah.
don't get to just go by baseline stats. You got to nitpick. How many times you got knocked in the first round? How many All NBA first teams you got? How many All defensive teams you got? Like you got to nitpick those little stats because if not, all of these guys are great.
Damn. Yeah, that's real. I mean, it's damn. Like I just been reading his stats this whole time. It's just crazy. Like the numbers that he's putting up and like where he's falling in the voting category for like an award, like defensive player of the year. This man averaged 1 year 28, 11, and 2.6 blocks and finished like fourth in defensive player of the year. Like that's crazy. Like, and we
That's what I'm
looking at
saying.
earlier years, these men was averaging 1.5 blocks, 16 points, and coming in like second or first place. It's like
Yeah,
the effort that he's putting in, like year to year, it's,
bro. It matters
it's
who you playing
different,
in the
man.
league with, bro. Like that's
And it matters
that's
when
like
your
a
team winning too.
exactly,
Team not winning, you're not
exactly,
gonna get a lot of these awards.
100%, bro. And that's why I say like we what was the Lakers last year, and we ended up being seventh.
Hmm.
And what standings?
Seventh, I think. Yeah, I think
Hmm.
after the playing game we were seventh. Bro, like, let's
Yeah,
be honest. Like, how much of that we got to give AD the credit for just to be seventh, bro? Like, give Braun his credit. Braun was playing, but we ain't have consistency from anybody else on that team, bro. We get any type of consistency from Austin Reeves and D'Lo, we may be looking at fifth or fourth in the West. maybe even third. I'm not gonna go as far as say 1 or 2, because obviously Oklahoma City did what they did and stuff. But like, and now the outlook is different. I think AD finished 4th this year in Defensive Player of the Year. That's crazy to me.
Yeah.
But again, we were 7th. You gotta respect the fact, and that's about to be. They might as well rename that award to the Victor Wembanyama Award moving forward. So like, you know what I'm
Man,
saying? So
yo,
it's
every
gonna be
dominate.
it's interesting. Like when you win, how
Yeah,
you win, and all of those things. So
yeah, yeah, yeah. It's yeah. These comparisons are wild.
I mean, but AD, if we don't take anything away from this session, AD top 5 power forward all time. I'm stamping it
Championship
right here.
Davis.
He in the top
Championship
5.
Davis.
And nobody going past nobody. I don't think nobody ever going past the big fundamental. But after that,
That's
everything's up for debate in my
that's
book.
the God mode category for real.
Yeah. We don't acknowledge Tim Duncan in power forward
That's
conversations.
like
That's like,
get over there, bro.
go over there, Timmy. We argue from 2 on down. We don't talk about you no more.
He said, if you ain't got these quadruple doubles, you can't talk to me. Like,
Come
damn,
on, man.
all right, Tim.
How about see you later, Timmy. We know. Nobody disrespecting Tim
Oh my
Duncan.
gosh. Oh man, that's cool. That's cool, man. Old head NBA, and man, I guess we done with the '90s, huh?
Yeah, come on, man. Game's evolving, man. Just wake up and appreciate the game. That's what I just hope both sides do. Just both sides need to appreciate the game that was and appreciate the game that is, and appreciate the game that is. Because if the game wasn't what the game was today, it wouldn't be evolving. You wouldn't have these players getting $300 million contract, and then you got to give those guys back then the credit that they deserve for paving the way. But you can pave the way if somebody don't take that baton and run with it. Paving the way don't mean nothing. So you got to give respect to the both ends of the baton, I guess, for the metaphor that I'm using here. You got to give credit to both ends, and these guys are taking the baton and running with it. You got to respect it.
Yeah, especially because like if you think about it, like the way the league is progressing so rapidly, like every player is going to be one Beyond in like 5 years, and then what's the
Oh,
argument then? Because these motherfuckers going to be averaging like 15, 10, 11, and 6
yeah.
in the stat category and be like, yo, this is crazy. But them
I
old heads
know.
still be like, nah, y'all wasn't playing physical.
I know some of them old heads wish they had the green light like some of these players got. That's
Yo,
another thing. Coaching has changed, bro. Everything has changed. Can't just say the players. Coaching has changed. You got Mark Jackson 3 years into Stephen Clay saying that they the best shooting backcourt of all time, and everybody's just like, "What are you talking about? You're bugging out." And then he turned out to be absolutely correct. Like
correct.
they're the greatest shooting backcourt of all time. So when you got coaches that come in with that mindset, and even like a Steve Kerr, like where they come in, shoot, shoot them threes. No shot is a bad shot. Shoot, we want you getting up threes. Then that changes your mind frame. That change how you practice. That changes how you prepare, and then that's ultimately going to change the results, right? So I think going back to what I said earlier, I think you just coached into the way the game is being played. I don't think it's accidental.
Yeah, yeah, that's real. That's real. All right, y'all. That's the cap on episode 3. That was dope. So yeah, just this next week, we're gonna be back with episode 4, hopefully. Um,
But I think in 2 weeks,
yeah,
right? Just wanted to make sure we got the right information out there. 'Cause I don't think it's a
yeah,
PL
2 weeks, 2
next
weeks,
week,
yeah, two
so it's two
weeks,
weeks,
2
right?
weeks,
Okay,
yeah.
cool. Yeah,
Yeah, it's gonna continue with the landscape of the WWE, of course. Talking about Mr. Mid Rhodes, WWE champion. um, yeah, and then also as we get closer to the NBA season, it's gonna be fun, man. I'm liking how this season is shaping up to be. We got the in season tournament back, or I don't think they
so it's
changed
gonna
the
be.
name, right? 'Cause it's
Nah, I think it's still an in-season tournament. It's gonna be
still-
fun. I do also want to plug. We're gonna have the Paint to the Pit gaming coming soon. 2K. 2K being released next week. We're gonna have the Paint to the Pit gaming coming
Y'all better
soon.
get ready.
We're gonna have more
Every day.
details to
Every
follow.
day.
But Paint to the Pit gaming. We're gonna be on there playing 2K. We would love for everybody to join us on those platforms as well.
Like we might be old,
100%.
but we will drop 40 on y'all. No problem.
Easy, easy,
I ain't old.
easy.
We will show y'all the team up stats to back it up.
We will. First team, first ballot. Some respect on my
That's
first
that
ballot.
TBD right there.
I'm first ballot. Just get off my humble horse for a minute. First ballot.
All right, y'all. We will see y'all on the next episode. All right.
All right.
All right.